The information that we share today is from our own personal experiences and does not constitute medical advice. We do not endorse any products or services. Any said products or services mentioned on this podcast may not be suitable for you or your condition. Please consult with your physician if you have medical questions as it may pertain to your condition.
Hi everyone, welcome back to this week's episode on Take a Pain Check. I'm so excited to introduce our guest, Savannah. Hi Savannah, thank you for joining me today. Can you start off with a brief description of you and your condition, kind of like what you're studying, your aspirations, stuff like that?
Hi, I'm Savannah. I am 19 years old and I live in Windsor, Ontario. I am currently in my second year of human kinetics at the University of Windsor. After I finish my undergrad in human kinetics, I would like to go on to pursue a career in either occupational therapy, physiotherapy, or in chiropractic. Those are kind of my career aspirations. And at the age of 13, I was diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis.
Wow. I was diagnosed at 13 too. So that's interesting, like we were like 13-year-old arthritis kids. So you were diagnosed at 13 with JIA.
Yes.
What symptoms were you experiencing like prior to your diagnosis that made you kind of, go to the doctor and say, I have arthritis?
So I was a soccer player. I played a lot of soccer competitively. And I was in midfield, so I did a lot of like throw-ins and a lot of movements above my shoulder. And one day I woke up with severe right shoulder pain, but I hadn't remembered injuring it in playing soccer. So it kind of raised like a little bit of a flag in my head and my parents' heads. And so I went to my family doctor and he's like, I have no idea. Like, let's get some blood work done. Let's get you to x-rays and ultrasounds. And from there on, it was doctor's appointments every single week and trying to figure out, what was happening. And I started with physio, and the physio helped me get over the shoulder pain, whether it was a shoulder injury or not. And then I thought everything was fine. I carried on with my life for a good month. And then one day I woke up with pain from the tips of my toes all the way up to my hips, and I just couldn't get out of bed, couldn't move. And so the kind of investigation into what was going on opened up again. And it wasn't until about 2 years later that I actually got a diagnosis of JIA. I was tested for everything from like Lyme disease to, iron disorders, everything across before they figured it out that it was arthritis. So
2 years.
Yeah.
So would you say like during that 2-year period, you were like experiencing pain, but like nothing happened?
Yeah, basically my pain started moving. So it'd be like one day my ankles were hurting, and then the next day it was ankles, hips, knees, and then the next day it was my elbows, my hands. So I was just constantly in pain. And this all started in my 8th grade year. So the year that was supposed to be, fun and graduating and going on to high school turned into just me like bedridden with pain all over my body, like had to have help from my mom to get dressed in the morning, put on socks, open bottle caps, open doors, because I was just in so much pain all over my body and there was no reason for it. And so pain took over, and I definitely was experiencing like a lot more pain than I probably a 13-year-old should ever experience.
Aside from the fact that it took you 2 years to get your diagnosis, were there any like challenges with any like healthcare professionals or allied healthcare professionals that kind of, made your diagnosis process longer?
No one could figure it out. I live in Windsor, so I live very close to Detroit, but it took me and my family all the way from Windsor to all the way to Toronto Sick Kids Hospital to London Children's Hospital to try to figure it all out. And no one had an idea. Some doctors believed that I was just making it up to get attention from, my family and friends, which kind of took a turn and kind of made my family think, okay, like, do we want to continue finding out what this is? Like, obviously it's pain hurting me, so we want to, but like you can't see the pain, right? It's all invisible. So it was kind of hard having a professional kind of say like, oh, like she's making it up, like this isn't true, and then want to continue on seeing what other people have to say. But once we kind of got over that, and we met a few doctors that really knew what I was going through, and they couldn't figure it out, but they knew I was suffering and that, I wasn't making this up. They sent me to a doctor in London, and right off the bat, she's like, no, you're suffering from juvenile idiopathic arthritis. Like, I didn't have any of the markers, like my RA factors on all my blood work will say negative. I don't have swelling, but just the joint pain. She's like, I know this is juvenile idiopathic arthritis. And right from that day, she started treating me for it, you know, on methotrexate, you know, to treat my joint pain, and started me on a whole bunch of medicines. And from there on, my pain was kind of starting to get under control. So I knew that this is what I had. And so I'm very thankful for that one doctor who believed me and kind of saw all the symptoms I was having versus the ones that I wasn't. And, you know, started treating me for that instead of like telling me, oh, no, you don't have it, and sending me on this wild goose chase trying to find out what I do actually have. So,
yeah. And do you think the second and third and fourth opinion, obviously, like that kind of helped? Like, I know in my experience, like sometimes even like the hesitancy of going on a medication, like my parents like went to other rheumatologists to kind of get it, because you're like so vulnerable during that time and you just need another opinion. And I'm glad that eventually you were able to kind of find, you know, the diagnosis, the answer to like the question. You were mentioning like sports injuries. You're playing like soccer, so like you kind of thought that like, okay, like potentially could have been something with that. And like I was playing tennis at that time, and I thought that like, okay, like it's probably because of tennis, like I'm gonna sprain my wrist. And the amount of people I've talked to, they always like had some sort of either like sports story or like stress in their life or something. What did you ever think about what could have triggered your arthritis? Like, did you think it was soccer?
I did. So because my dad has rheumatoid arthritis. So, but I didn't think that I would be diagnosed with it. He was diagnosed at 27 with RA. So I just thought, okay, my family was like, there's no way, like he was diagnosed so late. How could she have it so early? And so we went to the doctor, and he was just like, my family doctor, who's amazing. And he's like, I think it's just an injury. Like, you might not remember it. It might just be like a strain that happened after the fact. And I went along with it because I've never had joint pain ever in my life, like just besides, you know, growing pains growing up. So there was nothing that led me to believe that it was arthritis. And honestly, before that point, like I haven't even thought about arthritis. Like my dad's so well managed. And so it just never even crossed my mind. And as we started going through doctors and appointments and blood works and stuff, and they started kind of raising a flag over it, you know, we started doing research, my family and I was having a lot of the symptoms without having like the major ones, like joint swelling or like hot joints, like, you know, the ones that people were like, okay, you definitely have it. So I did think it was just an injury, and I was like, it's weird that I wouldn't remember it being an injury. But once it kind of like started in my legs and in my feet and my like toes and stuff, I was like, there's no way that this is an injury at this point. Like there's an outside cause that's causing this. And so we started, you know, seeing more doctors and doing more blood work to try to figure it out. And that's what caused my family and I to travel all over Ontario trying to find a doctor who kind of could figure it out. So
do you think the healthcare kind of varied within Windsor compared to like Sick Kids, or compared to like a more local or well-known hospital, children's hospital?
Yeah, when I went to the hospitals, I love Sick Kids. Sick Kids was great. They were really helpful there, but like they couldn't reach a diagnosis there. They had no idea. And then when I went to London Children's Hospital, I saw a doctor. She was the doctor that told me that I was making it all up. And then I sat in front of a panel of 6 doctors who basically said the same thing, like interrogated a 13-year-old and then basically told the 13-year-old the same thing that the doctor did. So that was kind of like an awful experience, you know, sitting there and being told like, you're making this all up, like it's not true, when the pain I was feeling inside was so horrible that, like, you know, you're a 13-year-old, you don't want to be sitting in your bed at home alone, like when all your friends are out doing fun things and enjoying like their last year of grade school. Like you don't want to be doing that. No one wants to. So I think I've received the most care from like individualized like doctors, like out of a hospital setting. My favorite and the best doctor that's helped me so far was in London, and we would drive up there every 6 weeks to go see her. And she was so intelligent, and she was so individualized care. Like I could walk in there with like an inch off my hair and she'd be like, oh, you got a haircut, you got your braces off. Like she was just amazing, and she really put the time in for me and for my care. And so like I'm so thankful for her. And now I'm out of pediatrics because I'm 19, and she's introduced me to my new rheumatologist, who is amazing and would do anything for me. So I'm just very thankful for the doctors I have here in Windsor and in London, this area, because they've helped me come to the point I am, and helped me kind of come to this kind of like stable point I'm at with like my rheumatoid arthritis. So yeah, definitely I think the doctors here in Windsor and like even London, which is 2 hours for me, have been the best. So
Wow. So I can imagine you were running around a lot during this uncertain time of being undiagnosed. Like, how did that really affect your social life at school? Like, did this affect your academics, your social life?
yeah, so I've always been like pretty much straight A student, like A's and B pluses in grade school. But so when I was starting my whole process of like finding out the reason behind my pain, I missed a whole lot of school. It started off in September of grade 8, and I was one of the captains on the school soccer team, and we had to miss every single game because I was always, either at a doctor's appointment, or I was getting blood work done, or like I just wasn't feeling well. So it definitely affected the social part, because my friends would be going out and they'd be going to the mall, and I just feel like I can't do it today. Like I have to stay home. Or if it was like a fun day at school, I would have to miss it because I just couldn't get out of my bed. And so I missed a lot of school, which meant it was a lot of catch up and a lot of trying to get to the point where all my classmates were. And my grades started to drop because of it. I was receiving some of the lowest marks I ever had because I just was in so much pain, and I was spending more time at home and less time in the school. But I received some of the lowest grades I ever had, but I tried my hardest as always. And I just tried to overcome pain. And I was like, this is my year before I go off to high school. Like, this is a big deal for us at my school. I don't know about everywhere else, but it was my last year in grade school. Like, this is a big year. And I was like, I'm not going to let this weird pain that just started kind of affect it. So I kind of like worked through it, and I tried my best to be at school and be present as much as I could and not let pain overcome it.
So interesting that you brought up grades and like marks. I remember like when I was in grade 8, like I experienced the same thing. I felt like, my fingers were swelling up, and then I was in so much pain. So like I could not like do anything. Like at that point it was like, I'm just diagnosed. Now we have like a science exam. Like, how am I supposed to do this? We are such like high achievers, and we care about school, which a lot of teens don't care at all.
No, I agree. Yeah. And like at the same time I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was also diagnosed with hemochromatosis, which is like an iron overload disease. So I had too much iron accumulating in my blood. And so besides like a doctor's appointment and everything, I was traveling back and forth between the hospital every 6 weeks in Windsor to get a phlebotomy done, which basically takes out excess blood and iron from the body. And so I was just like, I had one diagnosis, and I was like still suffering with so much pain, and all my teachers are like didn't know what was going on with me, and like my happy perky self, like my happy self that I always was, just kind of slowly was starting to go as the pain kind of began to like intensify. And so yeah, they just felt bad. They didn't know what to do. And like, I'm not one to get upset over grades, but I'm like going from, having such good marks that I was proud of to like sometimes barely, getting a passing grade on a test or an assignment. It kind of just like took a toll, and I think all my teachers could see that, and they felt bad, but like, what can you do, right? Like, yeah, they didn't know what to do with me, and I just didn't know what to do with that. So I just kept trying my hardest, and sometimes my best was was all I could give them.
And do you think like from, grade 8 to high school to now university, the whole grade situation and like feeling motivated to continue like doing school and doing what you love has like changed? Like, did you have any hurdles from like, teachers or peers that kind of like didn't motivate you and discouraged you, and then now you're kind of like doing well?
Actually, I think I've been very fortunate over my years. When I got to high school, obviously it was just a year after everything that kind of happened, and I was still trying to find a diagnosis and like still not having one. So I was just going through pain, and a lot of my teachers I had in first semester of grade 9, they were amazing, and they could see like they didn't know me, but I would tell them like, hi, I'm having joint pain, I'm a lot of pain, I'm going to be going to a lot of doctor's appointments, like, and like you need to understand that this is like not me just trying to skip school, like this is me trying to find a diagnosis for when I'm suffering. And I had one teacher, I remember he was my geography teacher first semester of grade 9, and I was in a lot of pain on the day of my exam. And I don't know if you guys have them, but they're called Scantrons, and you like fill in your little bubble with your answer. And my hands were in so much pain, just like my fingers, my wrist, everything was hurting that day. And he said, you take a computer, you write down all your answers on the computer from the exam instead of writing it on the actual exam. And later tonight, I'll fill in your Scantron, I'll plug in all your answers. I can even transfer it over to the paper if you need me to. Like, he was just so amazing. He was willing to do anything to help me. And a lot of my teachers followed suit. Like, instead of writing my exams, they had me typing them. They allowed me to go for little walks to kind of just stand up, move. So I definitely think in high school, that was just my first semester, but in high school altogether, once I received my diagnosis, everyone was amazing and being accommodating and, helping me out and like making sure that I was okay and comfortable in my classes and like able to achieve like the best I can, able to succeed the best I can. So I'm definitely very thankful for that. And I think because of everybody and all my teachers that I've had in high school, I definitely do think that that's allowed me, especially in university now, to succeed like as high as I have. So I'm very fortunate for everything. And these people have allowed me to succeed, like despite, my limitations from my joints sometimes.
Wow. I mean, I feel like I've talked to some people where they've had like a really bad high school experiences, even me. I'm so glad that you were able to kind of, succeed in high school and university and also get like all the support you needed. It's funny story. I was really discouraged by some of my like science and math teachers, basically all of my science and math teachers. In high school, like they were like, okay, like you can't write, you're in pain, don't ever do STEM in your life. And like the student success services in my school were like so supportive. Like they were like, they try to do everything, like you mentioned, like the whole Scantron thing, like they scribe for me. They were like, okay, like we can be in a different setting, like things like that. And that was so helpful. But there were like those specific science and math teachers that were like, okay, like don't ever bother like doing science because you can't write. And what makes me like really, really annoyed, like right now I'm doing biomed science because I was like, hey, I don't care about them. Like good for them. And I finished like my first semester. I did like my chemistry midterm. I got like almost 100%. And I'm just like, what is wrong with like all those people that told me that like, you couldn't do it. And it just like makes me so frustrated. Like I was literally jumping up and down when I got my mark. I was like, ah. And it just like makes me upset that teachers, if that really got to me in high school, that teachers were saying because of my arthritis, like I'm never able to do this. Like if that got to me, then I wouldn't be able to do like what I wanted to do today. And like that makes me really upset. And I'm so glad that you had such a good experience, because I think the people around you and the comments that they make, and even like in the school environment, because basically all of your life is in that school environment, right? And that kind of like makes or breaks what you want to do. Like for me, I was like, yeah, I don't care about you people. Like I'm going to do it and then I'm going to prove you wrong. And so I think like that's what motivated me, but I'm so glad that like you were able to do what you wanted to do. And also you're able to, get that support. Because I know university like accommodations are so different. Do you have university accommodations?
I do have one at the university. So when I was in high school, I never got an accommodation. I just kind of went to my teachers and I said, like, this is what's happening. I can do everything, but I might just have off days where like I need to type my notes instead of write them. I might need to postpone a test a little bit, or I might miss a test because doctor's appointment, whatever. I didn't want to go and do an accommodation in high school, just because my high school is kind of small. So I was like, I don't want everyone knowing that, I need an accommodation. It was just a pride thing. But when it came to university, university took a whole other like strain on my body, especially being online, starting online and still being online here. I sit at this desk in the same spot for how many hours a day, doing all my classes, typing, writing. And I started to see my arthritis slowly and surely like start to come back worse. I like was getting back pain, wrist pain, like fingers, everything. And so I went to the student accessibility services and I just said, like, this is my diagnosis. I think I need accommodation. And so my accommodation allows for me, and it's more in a school setting. Right now, a lot of it doesn't kind of come into play, but my accommodation for when we go back to school, hopefully soon, is that I get to, take breaks from my exams and like stand up, walk around, do stretches, like, if I'm having a bad flare-up day, I can ask the teacher to postpone my exam and write it on a different day. And then the last one, I believe, is I'm allowed to write it in a different room and have a professor or a teacher scribe for me if it's all written, or I'm allowed to write it on the computer. But right now, I do get like a little bit of extra time on my exams just to kind of like stand up, stretch, take a little break, let my hands rest, which has been very helpful. Because sitting here for 2-3 hours trying to write an exam without breaks to stand up absolutely kills me. I'll be out of commission for like 2 days after that. So that has been very, very fortunate. And I've been very fortunate to have my accommodation just to kind of like allow my body to, stand up, stretch, take a break. So I've been fortunate and I'm very thankful I do have an accommodation. So
Yeah, they're super helpful. Like, for sure. I think the university accommodations are so much better than the high school accommodations I had. Like, I asked for accommodations in grade 8, high school, and university, and just like looking back and comparing them, like you could really see like the difference and how much people care more as the years go by. Like they're more like you don't need to, because like technically I'm pretty sure like you could take like legal action if someone like discriminates you over your disability and stuff like that. And so I think university settings get even more serious about that, and that's why they're so like, they have to make sure like everything's put into play, set in place. But we briefly in the beginning of the conversation, we kind of talked about soccer and sports and injury. Did you play any other sports?
So I didn't. I played soccer and I danced. I spent a lot of my years just doing like recreational dance at a local studio with some friends.
So did you have to like stop any of those two sports when you got diagnosed with arthritis?
Yeah, so I was playing soccer. I've been playing soccer since I was like 4 years old. And I started playing competitively when I was about like 10 or so. And when I was starting the whole process of getting diagnosed, I was still playing competitively, and we were in our indoor season when this kind of all started, and I had to sit out for like almost every practice, and a lot of the games I was just not able to play. And once the season wrapped up, I ultimately was like, I can't play competitively anymore. Like I just can't keep up with the pace of the girls. Like my joints are constantly hurting, and after one game I'd be like out of commission for a couple days, and like at the rate we were playing it just wasn't a fit anymore, and sadly I had to stop. But I didn't want to stop soccer altogether, so I joined like a recreational intramural league. So I played with a lot of my like guy friends and some of my girlfriends too, and we just kind of played for fun, and it was really lighthearted, and so it kept me active. And it was like one day a week that we went out and we just played some soccer. So I still wanted to play, but I wanted to play at like a less intense like league or something. Like I didn't want to keep up with the pace of the girls that I was playing with, and I just personally couldn't at the rate that I was feeling pain. And so with this like more chill back like intramural league, I was able to, you know, take days off and just go and watch. My coach was super understanding, and he could see that I was having like an off day and like I wasn't feeling well, and he would just like let me sit on the side. Sometimes I was assistant coach, like helping my teammates, but I still continued to play soccer up until like the summer before I started university. And I finally was like, okay, I'm too old for this. Like I have to stop now. But yeah, I continued to do that. And I continued to dance basically up until my grade 12 year. And so that's when all my friends went off to university, and they're like, yeah. So it was just me left in dance. So I was like, okay, I think this is my time to stop too. But yeah, same thing with dance. I danced all the way up until I couldn't. And, you know, while having off weeks and having to sit on the side and, you know, take breaks and not do as well as the other girls because, you know, my joints weren't as great as they were. So, but I loved doing the two, and I would continue them if this all didn't happen.
Yeah. It's great that you were kind of able to, you know, make that decision yourself. It's really hard sometimes for people to, you know, stop something that they love so much and try to accommodate or find modifications to continue, because as you know, as humans, we're kind of like go-getters. Like we want to do everything, we want to achieve everything. And so it gets really, really challenging because, you know, you like the social setting and it helps you and it benefits you. And sometimes it's like, okay, like I'm stopping and it's kind of going to be awkward. Like what's going to happen? All these people, they're going to think like differently of me. Like what's, you know what I mean? And I think you've probably experienced that in that social setting. Do you think it kind of, you know, affected you mentally when you had to stop, or it was okay because you found the modification you were going to do?
Well, I definitely was sad that I had to stop. Like a lot of my friends went on and continued, and like some of my other friends came and played with them. So I definitely wished that I was like able to, you know, go back and keep playing with them. But I definitely think if I did, I'd be putting myself at such a risk of like, you know, really injuring myself or, you know, being out of commission for weeks at a time if I did something bad to a joint. I thought it was just going to be too much on my body. And like, so I was sad that I had to stop, and I was sad that, you know, I wasn't going to be seeing my friends like 3 times a week outside of the rest of the days we already saw each other. But I was happy that I was able to find like a different way to play, like a modification, as you say. I was happy that I found one because I was able to still play, and I was able to play with people I probably wouldn't have ever played if I did continue. And like I said, it was just so lighthearted and like chill versus like, you know, trying to win a championship, like that actually meant something versus like just for fun. So I definitely think that I did like find something fun and happy out of such a like sucky situation. But I definitely wish that I did, but I'm not regretting it at all. I'm so happy with how everything has worked out and like going the route I did. So
I'm actually happy for you. I think like it is challenging sometimes to, you know, find something to like accommodate yourself, but you were able to do that and you liked it. So that's amazing. So you're on this podcast today because you have created some sort of impact in the rheumatic disease community. And I guess I want to ask you, like, I know because that's how I know you, but how have you used your diagnosis to make an impact in the rheumatic disease community? Have you started any initiatives? And when did you start doing this, if you have?
Okay, so exactly a year ago on January 1st, 2020, I started Clips for a Cause. So I I love arts and crafts. I've always loved arts and crafts like my whole life. It's kind of been like my outlet from school and just like life in general, just random stuff. So I started making resin accessories. Resin's like a liquid and you mix it and it hardens and you can put it into molds and make cool shapes and stuff. And so I started making it and I was like, I can do this for good. Like I can take my love for arts and crafts and, make a good thing out of it. So I decided to make like resin accessories, make letter keychains and hair clips and like accessories of all kinds and donate a portion of each item sold. And I did this because I just wanted to spread kind of awareness around like juvenile idiopathic arthritis as well as like rheumatic diseases.
So I've come across your Instagram page, like the Clips for a Cause page, and it's really nice. So everyone should definitely, check that out. At least everyone knows now that it's kind of going towards a good cause and there's a reason behind it. It's really nice to see that you're bringing like arts and like your rheumatic disease, like experience together, what you're passionate for. You're not passionate about your arthritis, but you're passionate about, advocating and Clips for a Cause and arts, and you bring that all together. And so that's really, really great. So, maybe I'll go buy some clips now. This past June, you ran virtually in the Vancouver Half Marathon and 5K to fundraise and raise awareness for juvenile arthritis alongside, your business. Can you talk about your experience? Because like I've never done that before. So I think a lot of people want to know what the experience is like. I think when you hear the word marathon and you hear the word arthritis, it's like, I don't want to do it.
So I didn't run. No running for me, but I did walk. I walked the virtual 5K. So it was out of Vancouver and obviously I live in Windsor. So I kind of just had to do it here by myself. But I had my dad and my brother join me and we used the trails outside of my house and we walked 5 kilometers. And I was so happy that I brought my dad. My dad also suffers from RA. So we walked and we kind of just, we raised money. I raised a couple $100 for Cassie and friends through my family and friends who, sponsored me in my walk.
You've like kind of done a lot to cover awareness about rheumatic disease. And it's great that you're impacting the community in some sort of way that kind of, keeps you active but you're also doing it for yourself and other people, which is amazing. And so I kind of wanted to end off with, what advice would you give to youth who want to make an impact in the rheumatic disease community? Like you've done a lot and you're still continuing to keep up your initiatives, so what would you tell them?
I would definitely tell them, don't be scared. And if there's someone out there that is thinking about starting something and not really knowing if they'll receive like any support or like, when it gets started, they're not worried that it might not kick off. I say just go for it. You're doing something amazing. And I was worried about mine not, starting and not receiving anybody like wanting to, purchase my things. And I was really worried about that. But at the second I posted my page and the second that, it started, I was flooded with feedback and, support and like meeting people that I probably wouldn't have never met if it wasn't for starting this. So I definitely say, if you're scared, if you're sitting there and you have an idea, I say definitely go for it. It's so rewarding. Like for myself, seeing it start up and seeing all the people that are just like want to purchase things from my like small business, I'd say, or my initiative, because they want to buy cute resin stuff. I must say it's cute. And then to like support such an amazing cause. So I definitely say just go for it. Like anything you're doing to, benefit some other person is amazing. And you definitely have my support.
Thank you so much, Savannah, for coming on to the podcast today. We had such an insightful conversation about your diagnosis, talking about the involvement of your friends and family through, your diagnosis journey, going in depth about, Clips for a Cause, and finally discussing your half marathon run. Like, comment, subscribe, share this episode, stream it on other platforms, buy some Clips for a Cause accessories. And I'll see everyone in 2 weeks on Take a Pain Check. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.